From the kitchen of the cabin, a look at the games that made us who we are in Ben and Steve's Advent Calendar.
Well, it's Christmas Eve, and once again,
isn't it?
Once again, you've somehow convinced me to come back to the historical Christmas market.
Every night, Steve. To be honest,
I'm not complaining.
I'm shitting water at this point. I don't want to be crude about it.
I'm not complaining.
You know what I mean?
But like, I know that sometimes we start these podcasts, and we sort of we go off on tangents. We don't actually talk about the subject at hand. I want to get right into it today. But before that, I want to tell you a little story. Very short.
You love your stories.
Back in 1989 or so, you used to have to go to the store to buy computer software.
That's true. You did.
In a box.
In a box, yeah.
Right? So I would go to the mall with my dad.
Like up until the mid-2000s, really.
Yeah, something like that. So there's a store called Babbage's.
I mean, I still buy them in boxes.
What?
If I buy a Switch game, I want the one in the box.
You want the box? Why?
Just because, firstly, I don't have a lot of memory on my Switch, and secondly, if I want to flog it, I ain't flogging it. You know what I mean?
You're old, and you think that physical objects have value.
I do. My physical objects have value, Steve. I don't mind telling you.
So there was a store at the mall called Babbage's.
Okay.
Named after, I guess, Charles Babbage.
John Babbage.
The inventor of the differential engine.
Right.
The world's first computer, which was first programmed by Ada Lovelace.
Yeah.
Cousin of Lord Byron.
Right.
By the way.
There's a board game called Lovelace and Babbage.
Ada Lovelace is arguably the world's first computer programmer.
Okay.
A woman. And there's a programming language today called Ada in her honor.
Okay.
Just want you to know that.
Right.
So I would go to Babbage's every time we went to the mall just to look at the games.
Okay.
And occasionally the C++ programming suites.
Well, these you put the tape in and it went...
I really wanted Borland C++ and application frameworks 3.11.
I'm sure you did, yeah.
Badly. And I finally got it. My brother bought it for me one year for Christmas. But I didn't become an advanced C++ programmer.
No.
It didn't happen.
You're a Haskell douche.
Does Martino listen to this? He's a C++ guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, one day I went into the store and I saw a box that said Sid Meier's Civilization.
Right on.
And do you know what I thought to myself?
What?
Who the fuck is Sid Meier? Because people didn't put their names on games back then.
Of course.
I get the Civilization part, but why is Sid Meier taking credit for it? Anyway, I looked at the back of the box and it was like, oh, you build cities and roads between them.
Right.
And other things happen. That was enough for me. And I think I basically would be much more successful today if I hadn't spent 90% of my entire youth playing Civilization 2, maybe 3, not much of 4, 5, or 6. But these games loom so large in my gaming life, way beyond board games, because you play them alone.
Sure.
Right? Against the computer.
Sure.
I invested hours into these, just one more turn games. And I think that just one more turn feeling...
It is an incredible thing of civilization.
It's still part of all gaming.
Right.
When you're playing a computer game, you're not so much waiting for other players. You just want to, churn it out. And Civilization, although it was technically...
Well, it came into television with Netflix and do you want to watch the next episode? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it was technically based on the board game Civilization, but it was completely different. And It's ironic that other board games have come out that are based on the computer game Civilization, which was based on the board game. But take away the map, take away moving units around, take away the war game aspect of Civilization, which I think is the one legitimate critique of this game. If you wanted to say, it's not a war game, right? The game of Civilization is about building the most successful civilization.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it does feel like a war game. If you take away all of the aspects that make it feel like a war game, then it becomes a game that is about, in its essence, culture.
Soft power.
And this is how you always pitch...
Like your soft willy.
The game that you want to talk about today. It is a game that you appreciate because it is not about military conquest, which so many Civilization games, quote-unquote, are about, but a game about cultural domination.
I was on the Dice Tower, and I talked about this game as the apotheosis, which is a word I like, of game design. I think the finest game design that has ever been done.
Did you experience a flatus in this apotheosis?
I did. And I was disregarded. But I stand by it. So, of course, the game we're talking about is Through the Ages. And I think Through the Ages... So, firstly, it has that one element of board games that when I first started playing them, made me hooked on them. So hooked that I would start a fucking podcast about them, right? Of all the things that I've been into in my life, that I would start a podcast about these things. Right?
It's quite extraordinary. I mean, I've been into board games for far longer than you.
Sure.
I never started a fucking podcast.
I got really fired up.
It never even occurred to me to, like, create commentary or to turn this hobby into a creative pursuit.
So there is something about the design of Through the Ages that is truly inexplicable. It has so many moving parts, so many levers, so many incredible ideas that mesh together so beautifully and so perfectly that deliver a perfect gaming experience. That's the first element. I look at it and I say, wow, I could not in a million lifetimes conceive of something so great.
We use this word perfect a lot, maybe over much, but you know what perfect literally means, coming from Latin? Complete.
Right. There we go.
It's complete.
So the second thing is also, I love the auteur notion of art. The idea that you get an insight into the creator's mind through their art. Games don't do that so much. Because they're so mechanical, because they are design, they tend to function independent of the designer. And I think Through the Ages does, but at the same time, you're very clear on Vlaada Chvátil's views on sport, his views on religion, his views on politics, especially extreme left-wing politics. You are left in no doubt. But what is so brilliant, and what I always say about Through the Ages, which is so perfect, is that he does it through the language of games. He does it mechanically. He sets a mechanical base, and then certain things manipulate that mechanical base. The Kremlin makes you unhappier. Religion makes you happier. These are very definite statements that come through in the mechanisms of the game. That is so ingenious.
This is something that you're always pointing out about this game, and I think you appreciate it more than most, more than I do. What I really appreciate about Through the Ages is it's the city screen of Civilization, the computer game. Like I was saying before, like you take away the map, take away like the military conquest part of Civilization, and you've got the for lack of a better term, the optimization part. Where do I want to allocate resources? And at the end of the day, what hard decisions am I going to make? Because this game forces you to make decisions. And if you make random decisions about where to focus your attention, you will lose this game. You need to make difficult trade-offs on every single fucking turn. And it's not as unforgiving as many games, like as a splatter game. Because I think as you play this over and over again, and this is a rare, long Civ game that lends itself to repeated play.
But it's not crazy long. This is the point with Through the Ages. It's long, but it's not.
You can learn its tricks. Do you know what I do now when I play Through the Ages? Do you know what I do now? I make sure in the first age, I always have a fucking free population available because I know that card is going to come up that either lets me build a warrior for free or a temple for free. And I don't want to be caught out not having that free worker available for that. For example.
So we differ on this. I don't think you play Through the Ages. I think you play a discolored facsimile of what Through the Ages is.
It's the same game, though.
You know, and so
I've only played the real Through the Ages board game like up to 5 times maximum.
So for the listener, Steve plays it a lot on the app. I absolutely refuse to play it on the app because I do not want to burn out on my favorite game of all time.
I haven't burned out yet, and I've played it hundreds of times now.
And I don't think so. I am into board games for a very, very strict reason. That they sit me around a table with other people, competing against those people, being in the company of those people. I have no desire to interface with my phone.
Let's get one thing straight, okay? If you want to make this argument, you are not competing.
See, that's banter. I beat you the first time we played, I think.
No.
Anyway,
I focused on military and killed you because you like to build theaters in that.
So this is what I want to focus on as well. Through the Ages is potentially the best of all possible worlds. In Through the Ages, you can focus on culture, you can focus on philosophy, you can focus on science, and you can go nowhere near the military for the whole game. You can all decide, no, we're going to be pacifists. The way it models the venal, disgusting aspects of the human animal is perfect, because you will never get a game that doesn't end up being a military race to the fucking absolute detriment of us all.
The funny thing
brilliant.
is, people talk about many Euro games being multiplayer solitaire. Through the Ages feels like multiplayer solitaire, except the interface points between the players are the most psychologically intense.
Absolutely.
There are very few like rules or game mechanics that connect the players. I mean, there are some there are aggressions and treaties, but most of your time and attention is not spent on that.
Right.
It's spent on worrying about what other players might do.
Which is what nationhood is like,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's what nationhood is like.
I see your strength level creeping up, and I'm now worried what that's going to mean for me if you declare war. Now I have to increase my military.
Right.
I have to increase my strength.
There's not, and you're sitting at a desk miles away from the other civilization, yet they do something, they twitch, you have to twitch too.
Yeah.
The reason
I'm building opera, you're building tanks.
Right.
Now what?
The reason Through the Ages is my favorite game, and I mean, who knows? Something else might top it, knock it off the top at some point, but I don't see it, is that I have never played a game that talks about the human experience in all of its beauty and vileness so wonderfully as Through the Ages. This is not a game that is aspirational. This is a game that models the human psyche, and it is a brutal condemnation of us. But what's so wonderful is that it offers a possibility of a peaceful world. It offers the reality of living together in harmony, but it knows that we are flawed and we are venal and we are terrible, and that will never happen.
And that's why I play my War for Culture on the second to last turn when I have 45 strength and you have 20, because you forgot to build modern infantry.
And this is why you're the biggest nonce who's ever lived.
But I know you're trying to do like the concluding remark here, Ben.
That's the tone.
I know that's the tone.
That's the end of the episode tone.
This game is too good to just go out like that. What I want to say about Through the Ages, and this is a bit of a bombshell opinion, and I want to get your opinion because I've never voiced it before.
Okay.
It's simply because I've had several glue vines tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight being the fifth
Christmas
night,
Eve, yeah.
Christmas Eve, the fifth night in a row that we've come to the same
rough,
Christmas market and had the same number of drinks. I think to some extent, Through the Ages bears a family resemblance to Concordia.
Okay.
And in a sense, isn't any more of a Civ game than Concordia. It's got like a kind of Civ game feeling to it, with Concordia's got the map, and Through the Ages has the tech tree. But what I've learned about both of these games, and what I think is the engine of these games and what makes them fun, which unlocks the possibilities of these games and drives us toward all of the things that you're talking about, all of the feelings and all of the possibilities, all of the ideologies, is the card game part of the experience. Through the Ages is an exceptional card game because the only way to succeed at the game, if you're looking at it as a game and not simply as an experience, is to play the card game, to play that what do you call it? The tableau, the display, whatever. You need to orient your conduct in the game according to what's available and make the most of it. Same thing in Concordia. You can't simply do what you want. You have to do what the game allows you to do. The opportunities that it presents to you are the opportunities you have available. And I think, actually, to come all the way back around, this is how you might say it is the ultimate civilization game. It is a game of contingency. You cannot go in with a plan. You have to take what's given to you. What are the other players doing, and what is the world providing to you in terms of possibility? And that is what you have to capitalize on in this game, and that's what's brilliant about it. I go in and I think, I need to upgrade to iron as quickly as possible. Or, no, that's not working. I'm just going to do the military game. I'm going to upgrade my military as fast as possible. Nothing works. These monomaniacal strategies and Through the Ages do not work.
Absolutely. Because
the cards work against you when you try to do that. You have to go with the grain, not against it. You look at the cards, and the cards need to speak to you. And if you can speak the language of this game, you can play it, you can win it, you can enjoy it, and it's amazing when you figure out how to do it.
This is the true, and this is why I think Through the Ages is the best game ever made. It's because
What do you think of my little disquisition just then?
I thought it was great.
I never bought into this game as much as you, and the more I play, you don't like the app version of the game, but the more I play it, the more I see how right you are about it.
I'm just a little bit disappointed that you're looking for validation when, the validation lives within you.
Fuck you.
But you're absolutely right. What is so wonderful about Through the Ages is within those cards, it is infinitely variable. This is a game that has infinite replayability because it has infinite permutations. This is the quintessence, and we spoke about this a few days ago. There are people who speak game. Their first language isn't whatever language they were brought up with. Vlaada Chvátil is the poster child.
Yeah.
Every game he does, from Codenames through Space Alert, Dungeon Pet, and up to his true great achievement Through the Ages, is someone who intrinsically understands how to speak game. And Through the Ages is the perfect demonstration of that.
And it still has personality, all for its beauty of design, the mechanics, the fact that he's able to achieve what he has achieved and still have a game with, as you say, personality and opinion and point of view. True art, you're always talking about games as art. Art has a point of view. I would say that there are a lot of games that don't seem to have an obvious point of view, or not an interesting point of view. I think Through the Ages and a lot of Vlaada Chvátil's games do have an interesting point of view. And now I'm going to give you an opportunity to again do the ending of the episode voice.
Hey, don't show the fucking scaffolding to the audience.
I'm breaking down the fourth wall here. Can you tell the audience, if you can, because this game is amazing, but is it for everybody? Is it a game that is accessible enough that you can recommend it to the run-of-the-mill, average, off-the-street, curious about games, gamer person?
I am a scumbag from a council estate, brought up with no money. I had absolutely no fucking future when I was born, and yet...
You have a nice hat, though.
That's true. And yet I was able, through just pure curiosity and interest, to develop a love of literature, a love of Shakespeare, a desire to find out about what art says about who we are as people. There is no intellectual barrier to enjoying the great work of art that is Through the Ages. All you need to do is be willing to trudge through one play of rules, and then you will understand just how much it tells us about who we are as an animal, from our primitive beginnings to our primitive ending through the ages is not only a game, it is a statement about humanity. And it is a statement that is up there with Hamlet, King Lear, Wuthering Heights. It is a great work of art that deserves to be revered as such. And also, I'm really sexy.
Thank you for listening to this show and indulging our overweening nostalgia. If you would like to support the show, you can do that by going to patreon.com/5G4D. And we both wish you a very Merry Christmas.